Monday Night Raw this past week brought a record low viewership for the entire 3 hours of the show. It feels like every single week we're hearing that Raw had their lowest first hour, second hour, or third hour in their the show's history. So this has been the longstanding issue with WWE for the past few decades now, and we'll get to something else on that in a little bit. But Alex McCarthy of Talk Sport is reporting that the USA Network is absolutely livid about this week's viewership numbers for Raw, and that they are pulling for dark content on WWE programming. Nothing raunchy or sexy, but edgy and violent instead. I'm going to be completely honest. I don't think that having an edgier program is necessarily the big answer to their problems, or at least the core of their problems. It's really easy to point out that this is the big culprit behind WWE shows, that everything isn't mature enough and caters mostly to the kids and the younger fans of the audience, and nothing more for young adults and people of older age. But like, I feel like this isn't the real issue, because, and here's why: everything when it comes to PG era wrestling is better than what we've seen in the past. The in-ring work and the standards we get is the highest we've ever seen before in wrestling history. People like to look at the PG label and think that interest has declined because of that. But if you pay attention, interest has been steadily declining across pro wrestling since the Attitude Era ended in 2001 to 2002, that time period. That was around the time that WWE really started to insult the fans' intelligence. And since there was no direct competition going head to head with them after WCW folded in 01, people either turned to other alternatives at the time to get their fill of pro wrestling, such as Ring of Honor and TNA, both that were on the ascent and the come up at the time. Or people just stopped watching wrestling altogether because they were just not fans of the WWE product, because they saw it as like, okay, it's the big monopoly that's taken over the pro wrestling scene, and we're just not going to have it because it's not for us. You really think that WWE going edgy again, which, keep in mind, they've played around with doing by every now and then by throwing in expletives in their talents promos. So every now and then, asshole, bitch. Okay. I mean, that's the WWE's own version of being edgy when it comes down to it. I feel that there's many more effective solutions to fix their overall product, and bringing back edgier content isn't exactly one of them.
I mean, yeah, you're right. But if not for edgier content, what do you propose? I mean, because you said it, I mean, you kind of said it yourself. There is no way to go. It's in terms of, in terms of the wrestling. The wrestling has been, the greatest it's ever been. Okay, so if it's not the wrestling, you know, then it's for damn sure the entertainment that turns people off, right? So if it's the entertainment aspect of it that turns people on, you know, being edgy, though it won't, automatically mean per se that, your product has been fixed, it definitely will help tremendously. Um, they, like, there's no way to go but up. You know what I mean? Like, in terms of the product right now, this is the worst it can get. For you catering to the PG people, for you, for you catering towards kids and not towards adults. I think what TNT, I'm sorry, is it TNT or USA? I'm
USA.
sorry, USA. Yeah, what USA is trying to say in this thing is, we don't want you to think that we're in this business to like, we care about ratings. That's the only thing we care about. Like, look at SmackDown and look at Raw. SmackDown does something that Raw doesn't do very well. There's a realistic aspect to when I'm watching SmackDown, right? And it's not in the wrestling, no. It's the way they address topics. Like, I'll give you the perfect example. When I was watching Talking Smack last night, right? And you had Paul Heyman, and you had Kevin Owens addressing him, right? It legitimately felt like something, you'd see in real life. You know, it didn't look as if, it was like, these talking points or these promos or these things that they were cutting on each other. It didn't seem like it was manufactured by some guy in in the production booth, or some guy in the writers room. It felt real. You know what I mean? And the thing, the story with the Samoan bloodline is real. That is real. That's not something that was manufactured. You know what I mean? So there's a realistic aspect to it that Raw is lacking right now. Raw lacks that Raw lacks a lot of things. We can both admit that, but that's it right there. The realism of the fact that when you look at Drew McIntyre, right? He's a great champion, but what like, do people really know who he is? Like, do you actually know who Drew McIntyre is, or you don't actually give a damn when he's not associated with Roman Reigns?
That's a good point. I mean, I feel like WWE has focused more on Drew McIntyre, the character and the person behind the person portraying Drew McIntyre as of this year, more so than any other point in the man's career. But it's to a point where it's to a certain extent. It's to a point where like he's not drawing in viewership numbers. He's not increasing ratings.
Can we just say it? He's not box office. He ain't putting asses in seats. Okay. He's a great champion. Great champion. But you know what separates great champions from all-time great champions? Because there's a difference. All-time great champions like Cena, Rock, Austin, like Roman is in there. Like Roman is on that level. Roman is on that level. That's who you got to deal with. And the fact is, when you watch SmackDown, you don't want to watch Raw. And that's an indictment against Drew McIntyre. I'm sorry. If Roman can split himself into two and just go to Raw, oh, trust me, ratings pop back up. You know why? Because the fans appreciate what is real. Okay.
I mean, just not to cut you off there or anything, but you got to think of something else. Like, I think Roman Reigns was dealt the better hand here than compared to Drew McIntyre over the past few months. Because I'm saying that Roman Reigns had Paul Heyman with him, and not for nothing. I mean, Paul Heyman has some of the best creative input. Like, why wouldn't you have creative? Why wouldn't a wrestler want to have any creative input from
guess what?
Paul Heyman himself?
But guess what? See, here's the thing. Paul Heyman's involvement with Drew McIntyre, I'm sorry, with Roman Reigns, right, has nothing to do on the mic, because most of the time Roman talks.
He does, yeah.
Right. So the benefits that Roman is acquiring is from Paul being there, just his presence alone. No one else on the roster can reap that reward better than Roman can. Okay. Drew, on the other hand, if Drew stood right next to Paul Heyman, right, it's a different story. Okay. It's a different story. If Drew talks while Paul Heyman is standing there, it's a different story. It doesn't feel the same, because we don't really feel like Drew really needs that to get his point, needs Heyman to get his point across. Roman did. Roman definitely did. Before this, we weren't interested in what Roman had to say. We didn't give a damn. So yeah, I mean, you're right. Heyman has a lot to, a lot to play in that role, but Roman's demeanor also changed. Like, think about it. And I see your point, but I'll raise you this question. Roman without Paul Heyman, but Roman as a heel, the fans would have accepted that, and it would have still worked. Not as great as it's working right now because he has Paul Heyman. And I don't mean
Right.
to, I don't want to disrespect Paul Heyman and the value he adds to Roman's career right now. However, when you really, really look at it, if all Roman had to do was become heel, and he would be the most relevant superstar in the modern day era. That's it. That's all he needed to do. He didn't need Paul Heyman to validate that. But because he has Paul Heyman, it elevated him to the stratosphere, to levels that we didn't even imagine him being raised up to that level. So my point is pretty much this. Yes, Roman is the he inherited a good a place, right? But however, all he needed to do was become heel, and we would have ate that shit up. His demeanor just had to change. Whereas with Drew, right? Roman has always been box office. With Drew, on the other hand, like I said, there is an authentication that he lacks that the fans want. If you watch SmackDown, you ain't watching Raw. Period. There's a reason for that. There's a really, and it's glaring. It's really, 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 really glaring. You can point to the Samoan bloodline. You can point to Paul Heyman. You can do all that you want, man. All of that shit is real. But you don't feel that like that when you watch Raw. That's why there's a disconnect with the fans there, and that's why they don't want to watch Raw. Why the hell would I watch Raw, watch SmackDown, and then go back to watching Raw the next week? Why? I've got Kenny Omega tearing shit up in AEW. He's trying to go for the Infinity Stones. We'll get to that in a minute, by the way. I mean, come on. Why would we subject ourselves to that? There's absolute there's no way. There's no way. Like, wrestling at its finest right now lies with Kenny Omega and Roman Reigns. It ain't Drew McIntyre.
No issues with
He's
that.
not part of the deal, right? He ain't part of the deal. So, listen, man. As much as I like Drew and I think he's a great champion, he ain't an all-time great. At the end of the day, there's levels to this, man.
Okay, I just walked into the.
All right, so Rich, let me fill you in quickly. We were just getting into the main topic at hand, which we kind of deviated from a little bit, but it's no big deal.
Mm-hmm.
The USA Network wanting the WWE programming to have more adult content due to the recent ratings drop.
Even though that the USA Network wants darker content, it ain't gonna matter, because they said they wanted this twice, and look what happened. It failed.
Look at Raw Underground.
Raw Underground was a listen, let me
Where's that been?
Let me,
you know what?
Let me explain.
They should have listen. If I was Vince, I would have stuck with that. And then if the USA Network wanted to come at me and say we want more edgier content, I'll point to Raw Underground. There's your edgy content right there, man. You wanted it, you got it. So what's up?
USA Network, they said they want more darker content, but I'm like, you say you want darker content, but at the same time, will it work?
That ain't the issue, though.
Exactly. That's not even the issue. The main issue is that you guys are having TV right before our own eyes. Like, it's like glaring. So the fact that USA wants darker content, I'm like, okay, but it's not working.
You got a myriad of other problems to tackle first.
Exactly.
The 3-hour format for Monday Night Raw, that has been a huge cancer to them for the past 8 years now, since they first launched themselves as a 3-hour show in 2012. That has done no favors to them whatsoever. That's number one. Number two, like I said, what I alluded to earlier, insulting the fans' intelligence at every single point and turn for the past 20 years now. Like, they don't award any loyalty to the fan base. They don't award us at all. They disrespect us. They spit in our faces with the garbage they say and do on Monday Night Raw and SmackDown to an extent.
What you just said, it's so funny how you said that, where literally 2 years ago from Thursday, the McMahon family came out. Oh, we're gonna listen to what you guys say, blah 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 blah. Mind you, that was 2 years ago.
I still remember that promo, man.
And
did you actually think they would?
no, oh hell no, 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 hell no.
That's cute.
And plus, like with Monday Night Raw getting a 1.5, mind you, they haven't had a 1.5 rating since the Monday Night Wars back in 90s, early Monday Night Wars back in 96, 97. So this is kind of like a big deal to them. They said we're gonna see changes this coming Monday. I'm like, okay, but I believe it when I see it, but I'm not believing that until I see change. And
what
so
changes?
so
What
that's what I'm
changes
saying.
can they possibly make
Right
now
to make us watch Raw? Because currently, right now, I haven't watched Raw in 3 weeks. The main yesterday, you know what Paul Heyman said after the promo he said about Owens? He said SmackDown's the A show. We're relevant. Raw's not. Who do you have? Drew McIntyre, please. We have a champion here on SmackDown.
Wait, he said that about McIntyre?
Yes.
This was yesterday. On Talking Smack.
Yes.
He said
I missed that.
He said that SmackDown's the A show. SmackDown has the better tag team division. SmackDown has the better champion. SmackDown has the top champion in the entire company. Mind you, you have a brand that's supposed to be the longest episodic television show, but you're doing terrible in the ratings. So what does that say? That says a lot. Going back to what Kenny said, everything that Kenny said was right on the money. How Kenny, you said about something about Drew McIntyre not being like an all-time great. You said,
yeah.
It's so funny how you mentioned that because tomorrow he's gonna be on Stone Cold Steve Austin. He said that himself. He said that, oh, I knew I'm not an all-time great because at the time, remember he had a downward slump in his career.
Yeah.
He said like, oh, I know I'm not an all-time great in the company, but I'm working my way up. The fact that Drew McIntyre realized that speaks volumes.
Well, and I think it's also very important for all of us to kind of just look at this very objectively, man. Okay.
Abba, Kenny, what's popping?
What's good, bro?
What's up, man?
What's up,
good,
man?
Y'all missed me. It's okay. It's all good. The Haitian sensation is here. Continue, Ari. What's the topic right now? Just this quick. What's up, people?
We're tackling the USA Network wanting programming to have more adult content due to the ratings drop this past week.
Let's go. Finish.
We have to. I think it's very important that we actually set this standard, right? Having a great champion, and this always comes back to your champion. Having a great champion, a WWE champion, a Universal champion, that is the lead guy. Okay, can we all just admit that that is as important as having a quarterback, right, on your team, on your football team? It's as important as having a point guard, right, a great point guard on your team. It matters. Okay, who you have at the top and what they represent matters. I like Drew McIntyre. I think he's great. But guess what? There are levels to this. Okay? There are levels. You do not watch SmackDown and then go back and watch Raw. Come on, man. Stop.
No, there's people who do that. You don't think there's people that don't? You don't think there's people that do that?
Of course, there's people that do that. But guess what? They damn well know that there's absolutely no way that the Raw can compete with SmackDown.
They
with
can't.
their sorry selves, man.
They can't.
Come on.
They can't.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
So Abba, I want you to repeat the question again, just for me, please.
Okay. We were regarding this topic. We were just asking the question of, do you think it's going to help them with their core issues at hand, or it will not do anything? I argued that it won't do a whole lot.
The USA Network, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. USA could try their hardest. I'm talking about their hardest to try to bring out more adult content, and it still wouldn't work. It still wouldn't work because it wouldn't work because it's what they do behind the scenes due to their planning and how they set things up before the show starts that would dictate on how the show will go on. Due to the fact that we hear rumors about Bruce Pritchard doing a shitty job backstage speaks volumes on what Raw could do for the USA Network. Since the USA Network is wanting more, and more, but the USA Network doesn't know what to do with the Raw with WWE Raw. Monday Night Raw is always just winging their idea every single week, just to see if something shows good. Now, Kenny, I'm gonna back up what Kenny's point, saying like this. Now, if it was SmackDown, now we're talking, okay? Because if it was SmackDown, I'm telling you right now, y'all, I will watch SmackDown every week with adult content. You see what my man did? My man Roman Reigns did to Kevin Owens with the help of Jey Uso yesterday.
Yep.
Put on a show.
That's adult content right there.
That's adult, exactly.
That ain't no PG shit.
Oh, and also I'm giving credit to Jey Uso. He learned his ways. He knew when to shut the hell up and do things right. Okay, when Roman Reigns said end him, bro, Abba, Richard, Kenny, what Jey Uso did, that was Attitude Era worthy. He dogged him every single hour of the show. He jumped him with chairs, put him through a table, hit him backstage. That's Attitude Era worthy.
He was buried under shit.
Exactly.
Buried.
That's what you do.
All right, so Ricardo, back to the main issue at hand.
You said that
you, bro.
It's okay. Go ahead.
In terms of Raw, though, they are too PG. They are too passe, and they are so hesitant. You can see it. It's so obvious.
They're too safe.
Exactly. They're too safe. They're playing so close to the vest that they don't want to go over the borderlines of being PG. I was like, last time I checked, in terms of what niggas is watching PG, they're like 14, 15 years old. The niggas that are like 14, 15 years old, they're cursing up a storm to their mothers and stuff like that. They don't give a damn. It's about time that if they want the respect that they deserve, you need to stop playing closer to the vest and let loose. Like, live a little bit. You feel me? They're not the wrestling company that they used to be. They're not the Attitude Era, or to a lesser degree, the Ruthless Aggression Era. They hold back too much. It's so obvious. So in terms of USA Network and in terms of Raw, it ain't gonna work with that. Even with Drew McIntyre as your world champion, or any other face or heel that's there.
Listen. The only way, right? The only way that Raw can work is if you get Roman to jump ship.
No question. No question. Straight up. That's their only hope.
Do y'all realize how important what the thing I just said is? The fact that only one man can save you right now.
Yes.
At this very moment. The only way you can possibly get your ratings back to respectability is getting Roman.
I don't think that's the only solution, though.
How?
I mean, listen.
There's a lot more to tackle. There's a lot more issues they have.
Yeah. See. Remember, Abba, what I said. It starts with your quarterback, your champion, then everything else
falls into place.
You've got to give the people, right? You've got to give the people somebody to look to, somebody to revere, somebody to fear, somebody to be interested in. Who on Raw is interested right now?
That's not the issue. I'm getting at the 3 hours thing with Raw.
Okay.
It's still arguably the biggest issue that Monday Night Raw has.
Yeah, but here I want to say something about the 3 hours thing. Knowing WWE, they're not going to get rid of the 3 hours. They're really not, because so how's
that a solution? Right.
Exactly.
How's that a solution? Like it can't possibly be a solution if there's no way out. Like there's absolutely no way out of that 3 hours. Okay?
Yeah, honestly,
you did that to yourself.
You have to
You have to admit that. So if you can admit that and look past that, what's the next best thing? What's the easy solution right now? What's the fix that you can say, okay, it'll put a band-aid on it at least.
Because
at the very least.
Okay.
It'll put a band-aid on it. I'm not saying it'll fix it long term, because obviously, fans,
the 3 hours is going to come back to bite them.
Right. I get it. I understand that. But at the same time,
there's nothing you can do.
Right. There's nothing you can do about that. There's nothing you can do about that. So if you
It-
can't do anything about it, dude,
Right,
Let
and
it-
because there's right,
let it
and I'm
go.
saying, and this is what I'm saying, head and shoulders above everything else.
Mhm.
The 3 hours thing is too impossible to overlook. It's too impossible to overlook. It's gonna come. Listen. If you want to bring back more mature, edgier content on your 3 hour show, then so be it. That's a band-aid to a gunshot wound, though. That's not going to heal everything. It's the interest is going to be there for maybe a few weeks, a month, maybe 2 months, but after that, people are going to go right back to not caring anymore.
Well, it's like I agree with that.
With the
but
exception of Roman Reigns.
No,
I'm
no,
talking
no,
about the
whoa,
shows.
whoa. Okay. So let's do a hypothetical, right? Let's take Kenny's idea, right? If Roman Reigns was in Raw, like 3 hours, right? I'm telling you right now, you will be more intrigued to watch Raw for 3 hours than you would watch Raw without Roman Reigns for 3 hours. You will be much more intrigued about that.
Well, I never disagreed on that. I
No,
actually
I know.
acknowledge that fact.
I'm giving exactly, but like in terms of the 3 hours, it's like because the thing is, the reason why it's 3 hours is that like USA Network ain't got nothing. They're like by default, WWE Raw is their top show, right? And it covers the length, the leeway of whatever shows that they have in the USA Network, right? But I already stopped complaining about the 3 hours thing. I honestly feel like that's your pet peeve, and I understand why, but like that's your honestly a pet peeve. But like in terms of the 3 hours, they can't really do much to a little to anything because the way they promoted themselves since the Attitude Era in terms of adult content changed the whole complexity of WWE. So it's little to impossible for them to do more adult content.
You could argue for the worst, though, that it changed the complexity of WWE, the adult content
it
20 years
did.
ago. Yeah.
It did.
Mhm.
It did, and that's what I'm saying. It by changing it to PG, changed the whole 9 yards of WWE. Like, do we get better matches? Honestly, yes. I would honestly say yes, but the rivalries ain't what it used to be. The promo work got better, but the rivalries ain't what it used to be. You ain't intrigued about what's the next coming match. You ain't intrigued about any superstar returning because you got social media killing it before he or she shows up to use the bathroom, as far as I'm concerned, to say like, "Oh, The Rock's coming." Let us find out. Like back then, like by surprise. But like they stopped doing that.
but
They
you know
changed the
what?
standard.
But hold up though. See, and I was gonna bring this up later with the Omega thing, but AEW does this best. They come in with a blank canvas every week, right? And just paint the fucking picture.
And they have a
Okay.
quarterback.
Now, with the system in place right now, obviously that's not gonna happen. Vince ain't that type of person. The guys that he puts in power are yes men. They don't want to do shit.
Total big
right?
yes, man.
Okay. So for me personally, this is practically a done deal. Like Raw, I don't think Raw will ever recover. I think Vince knows that. So no matter what content you want to bring, no matter what the hell you want to do, at the end of the day, it's gonna go back to the way it was. So it is what it is.
Welcome to episode 48 of the Wrestling Hypothesis podcast, here for your Sunday, December 20th, 2020. Hope you guys are all doing well. I'm DAB, of course, and joining me this week is Richard.
Hello, everyone.
Ricardo.
What's up, y'all?
And King Kenny.
I was like the first one here besides Abba because he obviously sent out the links, and I should have been introduced first, but I'm gonna let that slide. The disrespect that I've been shown here today, this is not only, it's flagrant disrespect.
All right,
okay?
I'm sorry, man. I'll correct my wrongs next time. Next time you're first on the show.
There we go.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Sounds great.
All right. So see, we got a done deal here live on the show. Yeah, but big thanks to Richard Ricardo for joining us eventually and getting their thoughts in on that discussion earlier on. As you guys know, business as usual, this podcast is available to listen to on various platforms out there, such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Anchor, Breaker, Radio Public, Google Podcasts, and our very own YouTube channel. We posted a new episode of our extra show on our YouTube channel exclusively, of course. Me and Kenny covered the story of Vince McMahon sending numerous wrestlers back down to the Performance Center for refinements of
Shout
their
out to y'all.
in-ring work.
I give you guys credit. I watched it the other day. Good job, you guys. I'll give you credit, especially you, Kenny, my dog, my man. Abba,
down, bro.
You my guy. But there's the guy and the dog. like Kenny.
Come on, man.
Kenny, you my dog, bro. Kenny's
Every chance you
man.
get, my guy. Every chance you get, you gotta shit on me some way.
Bro, it's bro, it's very fun when I do that, bro. It's like you don't know the job that I do this Twitcher on a daily basis, but for you, I do it on a weekly to every other basis. So I have to do that. Okay, but Kenny, appreciate you, man. Good
Thank
shit,
you, bro. Appreciate you, man.
I gotta be treated like your brother that you don't treat very well to begin with. Wow.
Yeah,
that's our relationship.
Yeah, because you pissed me off. Because you pissed me off so much in this show, it went down to that level. Okay, so guess what? So the next time you bring in something blasphemous, I'm gonna treat you just like Richard. I'll treat y'all like shit because y'all pissed me off with your delusional points and stuff like that.
Ricardo will not be
controversies, man.
He will not be surprised if he treats you like shit on this episode by what you say, depending on the topic.
Oh no, we covered that. Yeah.
No, we didn't. We're gonna cover every episode. Okay, I'm watching your ass. Okay, I don't care because you be saying some ridiculous statements.
The fans know, the listeners of our show, you guys know that I live for this. So just to piss them off. Yeah. if Kenny doesn't get the job done, I'm right here. I got it.
Bro, it's like first take, bro. It's like Stephen A. Smith and Max Hellman or Skip Bayless behind that. But like, yeah, but back to y'all doing an extra episode.
Yeah.
Shut up,
Thanks,
Java. Don't be a hater, Kenny. Good job, my dog. Abba guy. So like, good job.
Whatever.
Let's go, bro. Let's go.
Whatever, man. Whatever. We also talk about just to continuing on what we did on extra there earlier this week. We also talk about JR and his critiques on the dive spot in wrestling and how AEW talent are upset at him over his comments, seeing as how it is pretty common to see dives in typical wrestling matches in any promotion right now. Such is the evolution of pro wrestling. So go check out episode 16 of Extra if you want to hear our takes on any of that. If you're listening via Apple Podcasts, please be sure to give us a star rating on there, as well as some thoughts on what you think of our show. If you haven't done so already, you can check out any of our older episodes in the archives using any of the platforms I mentioned earlier, as well as visiting our own website, anchor.fm/wrestling-hypothesis. As you guys know, before we continue on with the rest of the show, we didn't do episode 48 of the show last week. We had nothing out for you guys last week, but we're back at it with this week. We did extra earlier, and now we're back at it with episode 48.
Just so they know, we took a personal day. Okay, all right. We took a scheduled break. All right, but
it's
the
okay.
great ones are back.
Yeah, the great ones are back. And Albert, it's not so hard just to say that. Well, I just think you'll be in business. I respect that, but sometimes you need a break, and you need that.
Yep. Yeah.
Sometimes you need that.
Oh, the break's all fine with me. Makes the fans miss us more.
Exactly. Just like the great anime people that does One Piece, Naruto, and stuff like that. They deserve breaks. They deserve breaks, just like us.
Amen.
Content creators, just like us.
Right. Moving on with the rest of the show. So it was reported that according to Wrestling Inc., Triple H has apparently assembled a team to begin planning a brand new show for the NXT brand. This would apparently be like a minor league system before the black and gold brand. Former Evolve head Gabe Sapolsky is leading this brand new team. He has also given several agents and writers to help him get more comfortable with writing television regularly. The idea is the higher ups said agreed. The higher ups said, I should say, is that the idea is to create a brand new show that was described as an NXT for NXT. It is unclear how this new show will be presented on television, and that has been a challenge. They have an idea for it to be, quote, akin to another promotion running in some of the smaller tier markets of pro wrestling right now, end quote. And no mention was made as to where this new show will air. It's easy to assume, though, that WWE will put it on their streaming service, WWE Network, of course. And yeah, the goal is for them to push out something with this brand new show for NXT for early next year, 2021.
Well, I think if we could get past the NXT being a developmental brand, I think the past few years have already eliminated that that sentiment that they are not a developmental brand.
They're not.
And that a lot of superstars now are actually staying there rather than going to Raw and SmackDown. Now, if we can get over that, which we already have, I think for the most part, then we can also say that this is a great idea. It's a great idea because if it's on the network. If it's on the network, and
no, I found out it's going to be on the network.
Okay.
It's going to be on the network.
So it's going to be on the network, and it's a minor league system. Like, am I interested in knowing what happens, how they acquire the talent, what goes into it, how this works? Hell yeah, of course I am, because Triple H is the head of developmental talent. So I definitely think this is a great move and can add another depth to respect the process of what NXT guys go through before they actually make it to the big leagues. And I think that we should also, this puts NXT right by itself as its own brand rather than being looked on as a developmental brand. The good thing is that the next step to NXT not becoming a developmental brand, right, is having a developmental brand, right? So, if you have a minor, you can't have two minor leagues, man. You can only have one, at least within one company. So that's essentially what this is. And this further proves that NXT is no longer a developmental brand. And I love it.
In terms of Triple H's idea to bring to making a minor league version of NXT, I don't think any of us have really much of a problem with it, but I would like to see how he would do it differently from NXT, because based on what I'm looking at it, I am looking forward to his creativity, who he would bring to the table and what type of stories he would bring to the minor league version, I guess you could say it, of the NXT brand. So I would like to see what he would want to do with that. I would say, for me, when I heard this idea, I immediately thought of AEW Dark, because I think it would be similar to that, but obviously due to creativity of Triple H, it would be severely different. So you could separate the two. But due to their timing, it's actually pretty much perfect, since the New Year's coming up and everyone wants to fresh start a new. Because let's be real, 2020 was the worst year of our generation by far. Okay, so you want to start a head and shoulders above the rest by holding a minor version of NXT. So basically, for me, I got no issues with it, to be honest with you. I just want to see who he brings to the table to NXT, and how he might bring some people from both main roster or NXT that they're not really utilizing correctly, bring it to the minor leagues, and that might be the new version of NXT as we used to be seeing it, now to the minor leagues. So we'll see what happens.
Yes, I could also agree that I don't have a problem with this. It's not only that, with this brand new version of NXT coming, and also it's already been announced on Tuesday. Triple H is doing NXT India January 26th. He's doing NXT Asia early next year. So it's
oh God, further monopolizing of all the markets.
Listen, he's making NXT a global franchise, not just within the United States.
Can I just say one thing? Abba, is there a problem?
For real.
Is there a problem?
No.
It's not only that. That. When he once he does NXT Asia, he wants Shinsuke, Asuka, Io, Kairi over there.
Yep.
You see, Richard. I am so glad that you said that news.
So
wait, hold on. Okay, Richard, I got this. Kenny, before he started this topic, didn't I just say not? Did I just told Abba like about shit that comes out his mouth that gets me, that grinds my gears? Abba, what the hell did I just say? What did you not learn for the past 2 minutes after? Okay. In terms of what Triple H is doing,
Carlos,
right?
speak up.
Sorry, bro. He is making NXT a global brand, which means he wants to make NXT his own brand outside of Vince, which I absolutely love.
We've
right?
known that since day one, though.
No, but for you. For you,
He-
so wait, shut up, Richard. For you to
No, I just coughed.
They cover your mouth. They cover your mouth. For you to have a problem. Do you have a problem with this, Abba? Do you have a problem with this?
WWE further monopolizing?
Do you have a problem with this?
To an extent, yeah.
What the fuck is your problem? What is your
What is my problem?
in this problem with this? What is it? What's your problem with this?
What's my dude? I think it's pretty obvious. Like, you know,
dude. What's the problem?
you want other promotions to grow and do their thing and capitalize on other wrestling markets.
Yeah,
like
but here's the thing.
AEW,
But
why-
here's the
Shut
thing,
up,
though.
Richard. I want to hear.
Hold on. Yo, time out. Abba, let me get at you for a minute, man.
Wait.
I know, because I understand where he's coming from. He's strictly saying that he doesn't want to see Vince monopolize the shit any longer. Okay,
But it's not Vince.
he's gonna reach in Asia and India. No, we don't want that. However, no other business, no other promotion has the outreach that WWE has.
Not
And you
denying
have to
that.
respect, right?
I agree with
And
that. Yes.
for people that want to be superstars now, right? They might never get that opportunity to become superstars if they don't work closely with Triple H right now.
It's not ever.
Okay.
Hmm?
So you have all these people that are trying to make their lives better, that are trying to, realize and achieve their dreams. Okay. Taking that away from them, right? Well, obviously you're not taking that away from them, but you're saying that, Vince shouldn't like, you want other promotions to reach, but they don't have that reach. The only opportunity that they have right now is to go through NXT. Sadly, right? Because we all know that they're not going to be used they're not going to be appreciated at least as much as, if they go to, AEW or some of these other promotions. But this is the WWE, man. They have the reach to do so. So, like, the opportunity, like, and there's a good opportunity that could come out of this. You know what I mean? Stay with NXT for a couple of years and then go to the Indies.
Yeah.
All you just need to do is get your foot in the door. Like,
Perfect.
Wouldn't you're more likely to get a job in the Indies by saying, listen, I worked NXT for a couple of years in India.
You think it's that easy, huh?
Well, I think
dude, there's levels to this.
Hold up. I know. But the thing is this, there's a promotion that will take you, right? If you have the tape, right? The work ethic to match that.
The receipts.
Okay. All right. Exactly. Exactly.
Receipts.
Right. There are videos you can video, and send it to a talent scout in Ring of Honor.
How do you think?
They take a look
Perfect
at the tape.
example. Mm-hmm. Perfect example. Ben Carter. If you don't know who Ben Carter is, Ben Carter was Seth Rollins' student, and now he's in NXT UK, just like that.
Okay, all right. Look, in terms of what Triple H is doing, but let me help you make this. Let me help you understand.
I don't need any help on this. I know exactly what he's doing. I know.
Okay.
He understands.
No,
he
he understands, Ricardo.
Okay,
and I'm saying, and I'm looking at it on the other side of the spectrum. I think it's not a good idea because you're limiting. At the end of the day, you're limiting wrestling. You're limiting all these other wrestling promotions. And don't get me wrong, what you said.
Who?
Wait,
dude.
What
if NXT expands, you don't think that Triple H is going to want to sign them and pigeonhole them towards their company?
But let me ask you a question.
Absolutely.
And that's the bad thing.
Let me hold up.
No,
I don't view it like that. Here, because like this, you said it's limiting the other wrestling promotions. Last time I checked, if it's limiting the other wrestling promotions, it's up to wrestling promotions to outlimit themselves in order to go higher, right? If you really think about it, WWE is the only wrestling brand that promotes worldwide, right? I
Yup.
I think
Yup.
of it like bro, like that's why I think of it as the NBA. That's you know what Triple H is doing. He's taking a page from the NBA. The NBA is a global entity. It's a global corporation due to how they have partners with Asia, they have partners with Canada, they have partners with every other country around the world, right? That's what Triple H is doing
With
The far
NXT.
greater
with
reach
exactly with NXT.
the far greater reach that you guys are alluding to here. It's listen, I can't take anything away from that. That's a huge positive for those that may never even have the opportunity. That's a
Right.
great
Extremely.
thing. But I'm talking beyond that. You're
Okay.
signing them all. You're signing
Yeah.
up all these up and coming talent that are aspiring
No.
to be pro wrestlers.
Okay.
If you
I see
sign
your
on to
point.
NXT,
Let him-
if you sign on to
Mhm.
NXT, you're signing your own. You're kind of signing your own death warrant because maybe it's not. They're not. Well, hold up. They're
No,
not
no,
going
no,
to make
go
it
ahead.
all that easy. Triple H is probably not going to make it all that easy for you to get out of your contract.
Well, I view it like this. And let's say
They'll probably
a
make it
person-
harder over time.
No, I get it. But let's say a person from Asia, right? Let's say he got a guy. He got Triple H got a guy from Asia. He signed to NXT, and it doesn't work, right? But from Kenny saying it's like going to a job interview. It's like saying like I used to work in the Indies, but I used to work for NXT, WWE in the NXT for like a year or two, and I'm going
Here's
to Ring
my
of Honor.
work. Right.
Yeah, here's my work. It's like here's my resume. It works out at the end because to be honest with you, you say it limits the other wrestling companies. I view it actually helps them to some degree because like if they're looking at a specific wrestler and if they see this wrestler went to like he did New Japan and he went to Indies for a couple of years and then he went to NXT for like he worked for the big leagues in WWE. He was like if he works for NXT, he could do well for me here in Ring of Honor or
Didn't we just
TNA.
get hold up? Didn't we
Yeah,
just
yeah,
get done saying a few weeks ago, just a few weeks ago, on this very show that there is a wrestling war brewing before us right now?
Yes,
Mhm.
but no.
As a
it's
result of that,
yes.
Hold
people
up,
are
hold
gonna
on, hold on,
people are
hold on,
gonna
hold on,
want
That's
hold on.
completely
Time out.
different.
Time out. This is where I come in. Okay. Yes, there is, but it's not reality yet. It's not a mega corporation yet. See,
But you don't think
you
it's
gotta look
happening?
at it. You have to
But
look
you
at
don't
it
think
from
it's
this.
happening on the down low though?
Sure, it's happening, but some people can't wait 2-3 years for that to happen. You like think about it, man. You're asking people, right? You're asking people to hold off on their dreams, right? While they wait for something that
Yeah.
might. We don't even know if it's actually really happening yet, right? Might happen. Listen, the price that you have to pay for your dreams, you gotta pay.
Yeah.
Okay,
And then you're
Let's
stuck with
not-
WWE.
it doesn't matter.
They're not going to
So
make it
what?
easy for you to
Hold
get
on,
the
hold
hell
on,
out of your
hold on.
contract.
So what?
They'll
So
have the
what?
stranglehold on you.
Listen, think about it, Alba. Look, Alba.
And
I don't,
dude, think about
look,
this.
look,
How
look,
many
look.
people how many wrestlers over the years have we heard have completely fell out of love with wrestling after their WWE careers?
Well. Guess what? Those wrestlers are usually guys that come from another promotion, right?
Agreed.
Like TNA, Ring of Honor, or like those guys are big fishes, right?
In a small
In little
pond.
ponds.
Yeah.
Not always though.
Yes.
Yes, they
Not
are.
always though. Not always
they
though.
are.
No.
Oh, wait. Who are you talking about? Who are you
AJ
talking
Lee.
about? That fell-
Dude, AJ
who?
Lee.
Bro,
That's a terrible,
AJ
that's
Lee.
a terrible
AJ Lee.
example.
Hold up. That's a terrible example because
That's
AJ
a
Lee
terrible
retired.
example.
She retired early. Okay. She retired early.
She fell out of love with wrestling though.
All right. So what? It happens. But she retired. So it's not because of the E she fell out of love with wrestling. She just
I
doesn't want
think
to do it. She just doesn't want to do it. She didn't say, oh yeah, like those guys right there, like they fucked me up mentally. Like they did everything wrong. We didn't hear anything
bro,
like that.
She
She
retired.
didn't do an interview
bro.
like John Moxley and FTR. Like she didn't do an interview like that.
Bro, she
She
retired on top
retired
of her
early.
game. On top of her game. It's
So-
not like she
so-
fell off. She's still
Honestly,
watching wrestling
that's
every day.
honestly, you're just helping my case when you're saying she retired on top of her game, because she had a
Okay.
lot more.
So what?
She had a lot
Okay.
more to offer. But so
Yes,
why did she stop?
She
Yes.
does. But that's why it's a bad example because she left of her own volition. They weren't holding her hostage. Okay,
That's what
so
you're
let's
saying.
let's get that out of the way right now. Okay, that's number one. Number two,
You got to keep in mind,
big
this is a different
fish.
time period though when this was happening.
Yes, yes.
There wasn't
but
any
listen,
competition.
Abba, look, I don't expect you to understand what it's like to come from a different country, right? And then have a mega corporation like the WWE reach out to you, right? And offer you a contract. I don't expect you to understand that.
But I can understand
okay?
why there would be a positive. I'm not
Right,
discrediting that.
exactly. And you do realize that the more years they give you, right, the
more
more
your
money
resume
it is
gets.
for you, right? And even if they're not using you, because not everybody makes it, okay, you have to realize that that is better than the alternative,
Yes.
which is not realizing your dream ever.
Exactly. And plus,
Or
if
waiting,
you plus,
hold up, or waiting, or having to wait 3 years for another corporation to come, and maybe, just maybe, they might fall in love with you and then offer you that. You can't wait.
and
You
Kenny,
gotta better yourself right now. Right
You
now.
put it like that. Of course, I'm not gonna have anything else to say.
no, Ken,
Oh,
no,
I
but
got
Ken,
nothing against.
right,
Ken,
exactly. That's why it actually makes sense. It
and
actually
you know
makes
what?
sense.
You know what's crazy?
Come on.
You know what's crazy? Anybody that came from the Indies, do you realize, like, any small star, big or small, right? Big or small, that's worked with WWE. Do you realize they got hired at every other wrestling promotion because they worked with WWE once? Once. All it takes is one shot, right? All it takes
Listen,
is one shot. Like, look, Abba. Let's take, for example, let's take AJ Styles, right? You guys remember, Richard? Do you remember the time when I'm talking like before, like way before? Richard, do you remember the
Mhm.
time when AJ Styles worked with WWE, like at a small segment of Raw or some shit like that?
Oh wait, yeah, I remember.
You
That
remember
was
that?
like it was 2001 at the time. WWF met over the tryout, and then after that he got signed to
TNA.
TNA. Like
TNA.
literally
Because
the year after, and then during the time
because
hold on. And then
that's
during the
right.
time, AJ Styles at the time he said like, "Oh, I'm never gonna work for WWE because TNA's shit," and so on,
No,
and so
but
forth.
that's the point I'm saying. He by working with WWE one time, even if it's how big or small, you will get
And guess
you will
what?
get hired.
And
You will
guess
get
what?
hired. Wait, I got you. You will get hired at any other wrestling promotion, and later on, you'll be AJ Styles is one of the biggest superstars of all time. He worked with WWE once.
Yo, and guess what? And guess what? Most of these guys, right? Abba, guess what? Most of these guys will get released anyway. Because
Exactly.
most
So
of
you
them,
have nothing to
because most of
lose.
them, right? Because most of them won't pan out.
And also another example.
Only
Remember,
less than 1% of those guys will become stars.
and
So,
then
what do you have to lose by signing a 5-year deal, right, and getting released after 2 years? What do you have to lose?
and
You got
plus you
nothing
also
to
have
You
lose.
got nothing to lose.
and plus Ricardo, remember this goes back to TNA. Ricardo, remember when mad people from WWE like 2005 2006 were leaving, right? Ricardo, they went to TNA, they got hired on the spot, like Angle,
No.
Christian.
Richard. Whoa. Let me stop you. This conversation is based off people from overseas or that's from the underground.
Yeah,
relative
unproven
no names.
people.
Relative no names.
names.
Yeah.
We don't care no names.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I used AJ at the time because he was a no name. Worked with WWE one time, went to TNA and became the biggest box office attraction in TNA and arguably in WWE in its history. That's what I'm saying, right? So in terms of that, Abba, I understand what you're getting at, but at the same
I
time,
do too.
I completely understand, but it's a risk what they would have to take. At the same time, they got nothing to lose.
Because at the end of the day,
most
Until
of
they
them will
do.
be released anyway. Listen, most of them will be released anyway.
Exactly.
Okay, and chances are, if you don't get released, right? If you don't get released, you'll.
Under what
if you don't
exactly? Under what circumstances though will they get released? Like the way we had the spring cleaning spree back in April of this year.
Exactly.
That's rare.
Guys that collect a check, right, and don't do nothing. What's the worst thing that can
But
happen?
guess what?
You
But guess what?
collect a
That's WWE's entire mission though. To hoard all the talent they could possibly get.
Okay,
So
all right.
other promotions won't make
guess
them
what?
stars.
If you're a no-name talent, right, from another country, right, and you know for a fact you probably won't get your shot at the big leagues, right? You probably won't make it. You probably won't get your shot at the big leagues. Are you still gonna sign that contract? Go ahead,
Repeat that again.
Are you
Repeat
still
that
gonna
again.
if you come from a different country, let's say you're from India, right?
Right.
And your dream is to become a WWE superstar or a wrestling icon, period. It doesn't matter, right? The E offers you a contract. 5
You
years
ain't taking
deal.
that?
You ain't taking that?
You ain't taking that.
I would take that. But here's the
All
thing.
right,
All right then.
then.
Exactly. Exactly.
Listen.
All
That's
right.
what we're saying.
Because
Listen,
listen,
but it's not gonna.
we
But it's
know
gonna
for-
come back to haunt them. That's what I'm saying.
Yes,
For the long
yes,
term, it will
yes.
hurt them.
Yes, I understand that. That's see, Abba,
That would go
This-
for any wrestling company though.
okay? That is the price of being great. Period. Okay? Like yes, the company assumes all that, you know, all that, all
All superstars.
okay? It's a risky situation for the company to be in. But guess what? That's the risk they run because they're trying to find the next fucking star that can fit the company for the next 50 years. That's the whole point of this. You will hire 500 people to find one guy. Waste millions to
Yo,
literally
your mic is
find
breaking up,
the
bro.
next guy
Your mic is breaking up.
bring you 500 million. That's fucking crazy.
Yo, fix your
Yeah,
mic, man.
you're back and forth on that,
Business,
man.
bro.
Your
That's
audio.
business.
Is he listening to us? Like, yo,
I don't
fix
even
your mic. You gotta fix your mic, man.
Whatever. We say whatever, guys. I heard what you were saying. Let's just move on.
Why are you getting tight for? Why are you getting mad?
We got to move
Why
on with the
you-
show, my guy.
I hope y'all caught all of that. I hope y'all caught all of that.
Barely.
Barely, bro. Because that's what we were
No,
saying.
but your main
Oh,
points.
really?
No,
Oh,
I
my
understand.
bad, my
I
bad.
understand your main points.
But pretty much what I was saying is that you spend $100 million, right, on 300 people, right, to hire 300 people, right, to find one guy that can make you 500 million. That's what I was saying.
That's the law of the land.
And that's the and that's the business. That is literally the business. It like the company assumes all the risks there, right? They hire you, right? Most likely they're gonna let you go after 2 years anyway.
Not always.
And then you can go to Ring of Honor. Not always,
You
but guess what? Because if they don't fire, like if they don't get rid of you after 2 years, that means they actually like you. That means they're actually pushing you. That means they actually think that you actually have something. So guess
And
what?
that means
gonna
they're
offer
hoarding you.
something that's even more money. Hold up. No, because they got you
Not
from nowhere.
necessarily.
Not no.
They got you from
Not
nowhere.
no. They've shown me this over the past few years.
With who?
No.
With who?
With
unknown names?
everybody. With everybody,
Unknown names?
dude.
Look, those are guys that are already established. Bobby Roode, take Bobby Roode for example. Big fish in a little pond, right? Right? Comes into NXT, great. Little pond. Comes into the WWE, comes onto the main roster. Small fish. It happens, bro. It happens. It ain't that
It happens.
Bobby
It
Roode
happens
ain't
way too
talented.
often, dude.
Yeah,
Okay,
but
it ain't-
Abba,
it
but
ain't-
guess
it
what? But Abba, but for Kenny's example for Bobby Roode, he's a small fish in a big pond, aka the main roster. But Abba, if you let him go, I'm telling you right now, AEW will pick him up immediately.
Immediately.
Impact,
That's not
Immediately.
what I was arguing
No,
about, man.
No. But you're saying based on how they pick up someone from the Indies or any other person, they would just
But
wash them.
see, all the guys
like-
that you can possibly name are guys that have already been established before. I ain't talking about that. I don't care about that. I'm talking about guys that
That
want it.
bumps.
Guys that
Yeah, exactly.
are fucking hungry. Guys
Yeah.
that come from another country that have been tasting dirt for the past 20 years and want to make something of their lives, man. Those are what I'm talking about. Guys
Listen.
that want the opportunity.
Listen. Can we just
Yep.
agree on the face of it with this whole topic, and then we can move on because yeah, we're a little on this. We're on this a little too long. But let me just say this: Can we all agree? Can we all agree that it's a great thing for all these relative no names to become somebody in the wrestling landscape by getting signed, by being affiliated with the WWE system, and at the same time, it will also be a bad thing in the long run for them because they're of them just being stuck in WWE because of their mission to hoard all their talent.
No, I can't say.
No,
I can't say
I don't know
anything
about
bad
that. Nah,
because here.
I
No,
don't
no,
know
no,
about that.
hold up.
No, no,
Because here,
wait, hold on, Kenny. Hold on, Kenny.
because oh no, because of where they're coming from.
Yeah,
If you're telling me,
because
look,
yeah.
if you're telling me, oh, it's Bobby. Like, let's say Bobby Roode was still in TNA and he wants to come to the WWE. Yeah, hell yeah, you got a point. Bad move. Go to AEW instead. But if you're talking about a no-name guy that hasn't done anything,
They're wrestling in
that
high school
wants to do
gyms.
something, right? That's working high school gyms, that's barely getting paid $20 for one match. Fuck no.
No.
Fuck no.
If I no,
Fuck
that
no.
ass. No, because if I'm an indie,
Bro, you don't think
like,
right
bro,
now, yo, Rich, you don't think right now Matt would want
Matt,
$200K,
from
$200,000
WWE,
a year, right?
from WWE,
To sit in Titus Catering?
Oh, yeah,
Yo,
he
from
would.
are you
WWE.
Yeah, and then
crazy?
sit in the back and do nothing but
crazy?
fill his mouth with Titus Catering. Eventually,
Right. Listen,
that's
hey.
exactly what's gonna happen. 9 times out of 10, that's what happens.
Look, 9
But
times out of 10,
look.
that's what happens. But guess what? That money gets you to retire early. Okay, that money buys you a lifetime of tranquility.
Oh,
Okay,
Right.
all right.
But then guess what? You're
Okay.
unhappy because wrestling isn't your passion anymore.
Guess
You
what?
fell out of love
Guess
with
what?
it.
Guess what? If you want the wrestling that you fell in love with, go back to the indies. That's what they do anyway.
WWE might not make it so easy. That's what I'm saying.
Well,
That's
guess
all I'm
what?
saying.
That's all. And all I'm saying is that if you're sitting in Titus Catering, right, you most likely get released sooner or later. It happens.
Keith Lee did that, and look at him now. Look at him now.
You're right. Look at him now.
Yeah,
Moving
look
on.
at him now.
I don't even want to talk about Keith Lee, man.
Whatever. All right. Moving on here, guys. With the whole thing with Kenny Omega. This is going to be very interesting. So Omega was recently brought in as a guest on Chris Jericho's Talk is Jericho podcast, and he brought up how fans should drop their preconceived notions of what pro wrestling is supposed to be, according to what the fans and their expectations out of it. He lays out the idea of how it should always be so no one comes out disappointed and let down after a wrestling event or an angle was played out in front of them. And that is fans arriving to a storyline or match with an empty cup ready to be filled up rather than coming into it with their proverbial cups already half full. He believes that, quote, they are judging based on what they've seen in the years that they've watched professional wrestling. People that have the open mind that come to watch these shows are the ones that are going to benefit the most out of this. The wrestlers that watch what we do, that study what we do with an open mind, they're the ones who may take our position when we're about ready to pack it in. But it's the ones that feel that wrestling has to be a certain way, that wrestling has to be the way that it was done by one man, Vince McMahon, who had that empty cup, right? He was the one who paved the way for everything, end quote. From that, we could see exactly what Omega wants AEW and himself to be for wrestling fans, and that is to bring something unprecedented and revolutionary for the industry as a whole. With this recent partnership that AEW has created with Impact Wrestling, that can be what Kenny Omega is referring to as the first step in creating unprecedented buzz for the wrestling landscape, because we know what Omega and AEW have something up their sleeve in the long term for the wrestling landscape, whether or not that includes forming all of these partnerships with other promotions like Ring of Honor, AAA, and so on.
For me,
anyone going to disagree with me on that?
What, you got a problem with getting disagreed with?
I think he does, man.
I think he does too, man. But hey, listen,
he does.
Listen. That's besides the point. Okay.
Yeah.
Y'all are fucking assholes. Go ahead.
I appreciate the compliment, bro.
Hell yeah.
I
appreciate
that compliment.
That's fucking great.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah, of course.
Are you kidding me?
That's a great compliment.
Yo, being an asshole, man, is the best.
It's fun,
anyway,
bro. It's fun.
Anyway, back to the main point. The main point is this: a blank canvas, right? Fans going into it, like this has to, like, do you guys realize how hard this is for fans, for especially wrestling fans, right? We've been watching this shit as long as we well, yeah, as long since, like, what, we were in diapers, Maybe not some of you. Yeah, maybe. But for me personally, I've been watching this a long time. For me, right, as a 26-year-old man to sit there, right, and think about wrestling, right? Forget everything I know about wrestling, right? And sit there with an open mind and watch AEW or wrestling in general is practically impossible. It's impossible. Wrestling has been what it is for so long, right? And for me personally, I would have to see it to believe it, right? Um, and not for nothing, I'm just as stubborn as they come. You know what I mean? And I'll admit that. I like what I like when it comes to wrestling, right? I like the fact that AEW represents this old school thing, right? That's been missing in wrestling for so long. However, for the masses to experience this and actually, draw from this, it'll be very difficult. It'll be very difficult because you're dealing like the average age of a wrestling fan is pretty high. You're looking at least the 30s, maybe 35, 40. So, it really, really depends on like I said, like fans want the wrestling a certain type of way. Like if you want entertainment, and cringy shit, you'll watch WWE. If you want some of the old school feel, you'll watch, AEW. So for me personally, like it really, really depends on what the type of fans is, and because it's that way, asking fans to go in with an open mind and go in with carte blanche, I don't know, man. I just think it's a little too much to ask right now. And I just want to correct one thing. The average age of a wrestling fan is actually a lot less than 35. I think it's probably maybe in the 20s somewhere. So yeah, like I don't think the attention span of a 17-year-old watching a wrestling show would even be able to do what Kenny Omega asks, and for me that's where this whole thing goes to shit.
It's like this. It's like for well, based on what Kenny Omega said, he's basically telling us fans to like just pretty much sit there, not know anything, and enjoy the product, right? It's what I'm about to say is basically from a sports fan in general, right? As a sports fan in general, it's impossible for a basketball fan not to know or want to know how the game is played without criticizing the product. Or the same thing goes for football. The same thing goes for soccer. Same thing goes for hockey. Same thing goes for wrestling. It's impossible. You can't do that. Like, based on what Kenny Omega is saying, and let's say hypothetically it goes through the way that he wants it. We would not have a podcast like this. You would not have shows to debate about what happens based on a game, or you would not have things on what to talk about in general as fans. It's impossible. You can't have that. If it was a world, if it was like in a world like that, wrestling would be boring. Sports would be boring in general. You can't ask the fans of not to criticize or ask the way they want wrestling to be and stuff like that, because it's us fans that makes wrestling, the product, look great. We criticize it all the time. We critique it. We want this. We want that. The NBA does the same thing as fans. They want basketball to change a certain way because they don't like the style the way it is today. The same thing for football. Same thing for soccer. It's impossible. You can't really do that. So basically, saying what Kenny Omega said what he said, I understand what he's saying, but at the same time, I disagree with what he's saying. It's impossible. You can't really categorize. What's the word?
Categorize.
Thank you, Richard. Categorize it the way he wants it to happen. Because then at the end of the day, if there's an AEW episode that just finished or a WWE episode that finished, you mean to tell me you can't criticize what happened? You don't want to talk about it? You really telling me that?
I don't. Well. To be fair to Mr. Omega here, I don't think he's saying don't criticize the product. I just think he's saying when you watch wrestling, go in with an open mind. Go in with the fact that whatever you see, right? Whatever you see, don't immediately react to it. Don't immediately, well, jump, like, just look at it, think it in, soak it in, and just let it flow. Just let it flow. Kind of like the ultra instinct state of mind, right? And like, just do it without thinking. And for a fan to do that, they have to achieve some type of Zen moment where they're not constantly thinking, they're not constantly in reaction, right? And to ask that of a 17-year-old watching a show, right? That's hard. That's very difficult. That's a very difficult. I just don't know if the target audience can handle that, because I sure as hell can't. And I'm being serious, like, I'm being damn honest right now. And if you can say you can do that without shitting on the product, immediately when the shit like this comes out, or things like that. Like, if you can do that, then more power to you, right? But I do think, since Omega feels this way, I do think he needs to be held accountable. So in that, he needs to be at the forefront of this, meaning his actions, what he does in the match, what he portrays, how he handles himself from this point on. I will be looking to him, right, to fulfill that role, because I need to see what he does, right, in order for me to be like, okay, this is what he meant. Okay, there needs to be actions behind those words. That's all.
As we've grown older, I really do, and we've grown like more knowledgeable about what goes on behind the scenes in wrestling and all that. It seems harder for us to take a product and look at it as purely fans, and more so, well, we're more so critics in our own way, because we have this podcast, for example. We're always touching on the news and the latest reports about what goes on behind the scenes in wrestling. So we don't really look at it through a fan's perspective, but we do, but only to a fault. Everything else, we're pretty much just critiquing the product and what they throw at us every week on television.
Yeah.
But this is actually a good segue into what we got to talk about next, which is about CM Punk and his latest shenanigans on Twitter, on social media in general, that is. First things first, you gotta love those cryptic tweets that wrestlers post on social media that may seem like a joke at first, but have some sort of underlying meaning behind it all. And who better to do that than CM Punk himself, one of wrestling's biggest trolls of the past few years. Though looking at what we're dealing with here, he may actually be telling us something. It started when Renee Young said on Twitter, "All I'm saying is in 20 years, the wrestling talent pool is going to be looking pretty damn good," which is referring to Cody and Brandy's announcement of them expecting a kid next year. Congrats to them, by the way. All the best to them. To which Punk came in and replied to her, "There's going to be wrestling in 20 years. Showing, and accompanying with that was a gif of, I guess, one of the scenes where someone was laughing. So, yeah. Your cryptic tweet right there. CM Punk, I believe, was half joking when he said this. Maybe that wasn't his intention at that moment. He was just messing around, being good old CM Punk. But the more I thought about it, it did seem like he was trying to say something with making this comment. And maybe he's been paying close attention to the general decline of interest in wrestling, like we were referring to earlier on in the show with the whole discussion of USA Network wanting Monday Night Raw to host more edgier content on their shows. Pandemic or not, ratings and buzz behind pro wrestling have been really going down drastically over the past 20 years. So that's definitely where that's coming from, I feel.
Oh yeah. This is definitely something that I thought that I thought it was worthy of discussing, just because of the mere fact that we sense it too, right? Like, if you don't sense it, then you're just detached from everything, I guess. But wrestling has been on a decline for years now, and I think you alluded to it earlier when you said, ever since the Attitude Era stopped, it's been in gradual decline ever since, spanning like 20 something years or 20 years or so. So, you know, for me, with this news, does it matter how great your talent pool is? Like, can the talent pool, right, 20 years from now, save wrestling? Can anyone save wrestling, right? Because honestly speaking, I don't think it needs a savior per se, right? And I don't think everything needs to go back to the way it was before. The only thing that can save wrestling is what Kenny Omega alluded to earlier, right? When he said that fans cannot come in with a preconceived notion, right, of what wrestling is. For us to change wrestling, for us to have that impact, for us to, you know, feel like wrestling is at its finest once more, right? It would take us having carte blanche, having a blank canvas every single time we watch a wrestling show. An open mind, per se, right? And that's how difficult it is. Because no one, like, I can't think of anyone that has an open mind about wrestling, because everyone has an opinion about it, right? So for me personally, that's what it would take. It would literally take us, you know, going into the mind of Kenny Omega to see what, you know, to to think what he says in order for us to actually, you know, understand this shit. Because I think wrestling has evolved to the point of where there's no way to go with this version of it. With this, the way wrestling is right now, there's no way to go about it. We've already seen the best matches of all time, right? We've already seen the best promos of all time, the best angles, the best storylines. We've already seen that. Okay, all right. We know what it is. However, what's left? What's left? Right? Like if I were to tell you, listen, there's gonna be a great match on Monday Night Raw, in a couple of days, right? Would you tune in? Chances are you probably won't, because you've seen lots of great matches. What if I told you there was gonna be a fire ass promo on Dynamite? You probably won't, you know, tune in just because of that. Because
We get
we've
great
seen a
matches
lot
on
of,
the regular. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. We've seen a lot of fire promos already. You know what I mean? So there's nothing really that entices you about wrestling anymore. Great matches, we've seen that already. Great promos, we've seen that. We've seen all that shit already. Okay? But what is it now that we all need to do to make sure that this shit stays around for the next 20 years? That's what Kenny Omega said. Come in with an open mind, right? And watch this shit as is meant to be as an artist.
I want to get back to CM Punk's tweet. Oh, and good shit, Kenny. That was very good points. Shout out to you. Um, I want to get back to CM Punk's tweet, right? Basically, in terms of wrestling right now, since the Attitude Era, and to some degree the Ruthless Aggression Era, has been in a standstill. They plateaued for over a decade, without question. Is because, like, based on CM Punk's tweet, it's saying, like, what do you expect in 20 years? You saw just what Kenny said. Like, you saw the Austins, you see the Rocks, you got the Takers in the world, you have all that shit, and you see similar superstars portraying to that in this generation. But you saw them saying the same promos that their predecessors said back then to a small degree, right? In terms of wrestling in general, I don't really see much of a change going down unless something dramatic happens, obviously. But I see it at a standstill. That's why you see ratings in Raw, SmackDown, NXT, AEW have similar numbers in terms of their ratings because they have a cumulative average of that sustaining that particular ratings block. Either if it's like either a 1.0 to a minimum maximum 2.5. If they maintain that ratings block right there, wrestling is going to stay in television for like a long period of time, no matter the show. If you see the pattern of every show of how the ratings are either at 2.0 or 2.5, if they maintain that, it's gonna be long lasting. And that's why I think, in terms of CM Punk's tweet, if they maintain that rating, it's gonna stay for like a long period of time. And they've been doing that consistently. You, Abba, you've seen it. Kenny, you've seen it. Richard, you always keep track of the ratings. You see that every week, right? You see that with Raw, AEW and stuff like that, and whatever. In terms of the future, we don't know what the future will bring. But for CM Punk's tweet, I absolutely agree with him on how wrestling is going to stay for like 20 years or so. Because it's going to remain the same. Nothing's going to change.
Well, if you agree with CM Punk, then you probably agree that wrestling won't be around for the next 20 years. That gives
a scary thought.
It really is, man. It's a fucking scary thought when you look at it.
It is.
But I think it definitely highlights a glaring issue with wrestling nowadays. Like if you look at it, WWE is in trouble. They are in trouble. Like in the next 20 years, if things don't change, and we all anticipate that Vince won't be around in 20 years, right? Right?
We don't.
Right?
Yeah. We don't know exactly. He may not be human.
Yeah, you're right. The guy
Have
is
you
jacked
seen the man?
after all, man. Yeah,
Yep.
He's jacked, man. But anyway,
he might outlive us all.
Yeah,
he might actually outlive us all.
Hey, listen, relative to WWE, yeah, they do have a problem. But AEW, with what Kenny Omega says, man, that's the way you think about it. That's the way you move forward. That's the way that you always, go about doing things. So I definitely think it bodes well for AEW rather than, WWE in this case, because you have a guy like Kenny Omega thinking like that. And we all know when he retires, he's AEW all the fucking way. So, I mean, come on.
Yeah. Rich, you got anything to add, or you're good?
No, I'm good.
All right. Yeah, and we'll leave it at that for this week. We'll close off there. Hope you guys all enjoyed episode 48 of Wrestling Hypothesis. Thanks for listening as always. You guys know what to do. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. If you guys forgot, just in case, we did open up a Twitter account as of a few weeks ago. Go follow us on there for any updates on the show, as well as on news reports on wrestling that you can find out through us. Next week is the last episode of Wrestling Hypothesis for 2020, this crazy fucking year. Anyone who watched us early on last year knows what that means.
The Wrestling Hypothesis Awards.
Yeah. Our second
Abba,
annual.
Whoa. Abba, I'm giving you a warning here.
Here we go.
If you piss me off, if you piss me off next week.
If I piss you off, what, sir?
Well, I know where you live, bro. I know where you fucking live, and you know what will happen. Okay.
He knows where you live too, Ricardo. He knows where you live too.
That's great. And I'll give you that fucking elbow.
I'll drive over there, man. You know what I'll do? That elbows will feel like fucking tickling when I'm done.
Yeah. It's ew. I'll jack your BMW. I got a jack right here. I got a jack right here in my garage. And I'll steal your tires. Some on eBay for $1,000 a piece.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Don't go anywhere near Beanie, okay?
Beanie's a corny name. What?
I'm messing around. That's not the name. Anyways.
Yo. Hey, listen, Tara's name for her Beamer, it's not that great either. Let's just admit it. You know what I mean? All right.
But next week is the Wrestling Hypothesis Awards for the Wrestling podcast for Superstar of the Year, Female Star of the Year, etc. Oh, Match of the Year.
That's gonna be a good one.
Can't wait.
And stuff like that. We all gonna have our own picks, and I'm especially watching Alba. I don't mind Richard's picks or Kenny's picks, turn picks. I'm watching Alba. Alba pisses me off, bro. Honestly, I want to. This is an idea. I just want your honest opinions about this. We don't have to do it, but it's like this. What is the most controversial thing that someone has said in this podcast, based on all of us? I got a list on you, Alba. I know you. I kept tracks. I kept receipts. Like,
no, Ricardo, you said some.
Honestly, I think that's up for like a personal debate and not something I talk about with you guys on this show. You know, that's up for a personal debate.
Fine, but I'm gonna need Richard's glasses on that one because I got a list based on what everyone said. Because I'm the only person that listens to the podcast start to finish, right? And I keep track of what everyone says.
Well,
what Kenny
not
says?
really. Not really.
No,
I listen to the podcast from start to finish too, but I just don't do it at a high rate that you do. So like you might watch I'm pretty sure you've listened to every single episode. I haven't.
I have.
I'll admit that.
And just to add to Kenny's point, Ricardo, dude, you do not want me to bring up the one thing you did say on a particular episode.
I did. Yes, I did.
And Kenny, I believe knows what I'm talking about.
I know exactly the one you're talking about.
That beats everything I've ever said.
No, not everything. Not everything. No,
Easy.
not necessarily. I said one bad thing, right? You said a multitude of bad things. Okay.
That one bad thing is really, really bad though.
Oh no, not necessarily.
Really bad. We got on you for that. Don't let us come back to it now. Anyways.
I ain't ducking and hiding.
Oh yeah? Yeah, we'll see. Anyways, we'll be back for the second annual end of year awards edition of the show. As everyone knows, me and Ricardo did one last year. That's honestly still one of my favorite episodes we've done to date of the show's history.
That was really fun when we did it back then. That was
great, man. Yeah, so here's an encore to that with obviously more people this time around. So until then, look forward to that and take care, guys. Have a good one.
Peace. Take care.